Welcome. My name is Dr. Mike DeBord. I am the president of B3 Sciences. In this exciting presentation, we're going to explain to you the incredible athletic performance breakthroughs that are occurring with our athletes using B3 bands. B3 bands and blood flow resistance training originated in Japan over 50 years ago. Today, over 500,000 sessions are performed in Japan. But recently, in the last 2 years, it has been proven in our USA Olympic athletes. And now, because of B3 Sciences, every athlete, whether they're amateur or elite level, can experience and benefit the incredible results. We have close to 7,000 people and growing fast. And we're talking athletes of all ages, from kids up to seniors, high school, collegiate, elite, recreational, pro, Olympic level, and even injury and rehab are seeing positive results. We all know the type of training that's required for athletes. They've got to do high intensity, lifting weights, running, biking, swimming, explosion type of speed jump training. Because when they do this high intensity exercise, which we'll talk about, produces a growth hormone result in the body. And it's this growth hormone from the high intensity exercise that stimulates the body to change, to get better, to perform better. Pay attention to that 30% number. We're going to come back to that when we talk about depth of fatigue. What does blood flow resistance training do with B3 bands? First of all, when you put the bands on your arms and legs, it slows down oxygen into your muscles. And your muscles fatigue fast. Why? Because you've interrupted that primary fuel source. What do you feel? The typical burn that you get from higher intensity and longer duration exercise comes very fast when you have the bands on. Next, you get a complete recruitment of muscle fibers, which is a profound change, which we're going to talk about. Typically, you only see exhaustion or deep recruitment of one type of fibers. Next, athletes fatigue deeper. Once you start feeling that burn, the pump and burn and fatigue you feel not only comes fast, but it goes deeper. And this is the reason athletes respond, and they respond in a stronger way. Let's go back to the 30% number, because we're going to talk about depth of fatigue. This is a study of men doing bicep curls, traditional 3 sets of 8, getting down to about 30 to 35% oxygen deficit, and they feel it. In this range where most athletes hit, there's a small release of growth hormone. But look what happens when the same men put the bands on. They hit a much deeper fatigue point because of the oxygen interruption, down around 20%, 15%. This is a level of fatigue that's typically reserved for the elite level Olympic athletes of the world. Before we get into the profound changes, safety. A study was done on 12,000 people, 32,000 sessions, and they found that BFR exercise is safe for healthy people and even people with all kinds of various disease processes. So what are the 4 profound changes that you can expect in your athletic body? We're going to talk about all of these, starting with less load and volume. When you do weightlifting, you're going to work with about half the typical weight that you work with. It's going to feel light. So this is perfect for people who need faster recovery, who are dealing with pain, or who want to extend their athletic career. Next, people who do aerobic conditioning. The band's going to allow you to reduce your volume by up to 50%. So if you bike, run, or swim, your weekly load is going to dramatically reduce. This results in less overuse injuries, faster recovery, longer athletic career. Now remember, the bands interrupt the oxygen flow, so the muscles fatigue faster. So you're going to be doing less load and less volume. This has profound effects on the body, specifically less wear and tear and feeling better. Here's a couple examples. This is Chad Dennis. He's a strength coach at the NFL and XFL level, and he's able to take his athletes who have nagging injuries, who are in season, and put less weight on their body, but they get a much deeper fatigue or burn in their muscles, and they maintain strength and body mass and muscle mass, and they actually feel better. Here's a professional weightlifter bodybuilder. I'll show you his video. This is Harry. You'll see Harry here is working out with about a third of the weight he would typically work out with. And what's happening? He feels the pump and burn very fast because of the oxygen interruption. What did he notice? He built more dense muscle. But his big thing was he has less soreness or no soreness when he works out, feels nothing the next day, and he's extending the career or life of his body. So this is profound. Number two, when you start exercising, many athletes are familiar with nitric oxide. Nitric oxide's rocket fuel for your muscles. When you do high intensity exercise and you get the oxygen deprivation and you start getting lactic acid, your body starts to slowly release nitric oxide, which increases blood flow. Very beneficial for athletes. What happens when you do BFR? You get this nitric oxide release very fast. You feel warmed up and pumped up literally within 1 or 2 minutes of starting your BFR session. That means painful and stiff joints are going to be reduced and feel better. Your muscles are going to have more power, endurance, and performance, and you're going to be able to get that deeper fatigue that is going to create the change. And more nitric oxide and more blood flow throughout the body means better healing in the body. Here's a perfect example. Colin is a Division I college football player. He used the bands to increase his speed training. You can see a couple of his normal protocols here. He went from running a 4.640 to a 4.3540 by simply training with the bands, doing his normal speed training, earned him up to 10 Division I football scholarship offers. With the bands and this nitric oxide and warming up faster, all of these different types of activities, you're going to perform better, fatigue deeper, and adapt faster. Next, the third and most profound effect of BFR is what we call complete fiber recruitment. And most athletes are aware of this, that they have both slow and fast twitch muscle fibers. Problem is training both of those. 99.9% of the world's athletes are underdeveloped on one type. Either they're a running or aerobic type athlete, or they're a fast twitch explosion type athlete, and they're what we call underdeveloped in their complete muscle fibers in their body. But now that's going to change. Look what happens when you use weights, and we call it the weightlifting breakthrough. This athlete in the picture typically would be lifting or squatting with 3 plates on each side of the bar. So he's starting out doing light weights on the first set. That's slow twitch muscle fiber recruitment. Now, because the weight is light, he would never get into fast twitch fibers. He'd have to lift heavy weights. But remember, the bands are on. The bands slow down oxygen and quickly fatigue the slow twitch muscle fibers. And then the motor unit crosses over and recruits fast twitch fibers. And then on the third set, because the weight is light, this athlete with half the weight is able to push deeper into fast twitch recruitment. We call this a complete recruitment, slow twitch exhaustion, fast twitch exhaustion, and then deeper fast twitch recruitment. And studies will back this up. Look at this study on muscle growth. When they used BFR, BFR showed muscle changes in 2 weeks that typically takes 3 to 4 months of high intensity exercise. These people are hitting deeper fatigue points and more complete recruitment of the muscle. Muscle strength study. You can build muscle strength with light weights and elastic BFR similar to heavy weights. And I believe we're going to be seeing many strength athletes like world powerlifters breaking records by implementing the B3 bands. Next, now let's talk about the other type of athlete. We talked about weightlifters and explosion athletes. Let's talk about slow twitch aerobic athletes with what I call the aerobic breakthrough. Without BFR, these bikers, swimmers, runners, aerobics class, people getting on the treadmill, people getting on the elliptical machine, you have a continuous supply of oxygen coming in. So it's almost impossible to completely fatigue the slow twitch muscle fibers. But because of the bands, now you're able to fatigue these slow twitch muscle fibers close to exhaustion in a relatively short period of time, typically a third or half of the training time. But then something magical happens that typically doesn't happen in these aerobic athletes. You get the same crossover recruitment, and then deep, fast twitch fiber exhaustion, which rarely, if ever, happens in an aerobic type athlete. And then you get better results. Here's a couple studies proving it. A cycling study of 19 healthy men. In the control group, this is what we would expect to see. No change in strength and size, no fast twitch fiber exhaustion, but we're getting nice changes in VO2 max and time to exhaustion. Look at the BFR group. They had a significantly higher increase in VO2 max and time to exhaustion, meaning more complete slow twitch fiber exhaustion. And then what we've never seen before, aerobic athletes increasing strength and size in their muscles. How's that happen? Fast twitch fiber recruitment and exhaustion that traditionally does not happen in aerobic activity. And here's an athlete reporting a testimonial that matches up with all of this. This is Ingrid, a 3-time Olympian. She only used the BFR bands to do her weightlifting. She wanted to reduce load, our number one effect, and reduce training time and soreness on her body. But she noticed her improvement in endurance when she was running, yet she did not run with the bands. And she also noticed her body got leaner and stronger and more dense in muscle. So why is she running better and having more endurance with running? Because with weightlifting and lighter weights, we are able to exhaust the slow twitch muscle fibers because of the bands that typically, traditionally cannot happen with regular weightlifting. And she's getting this crossover, cross-training effect. Next, athletes who are typically on the court. I'm going to play you a video here of Scott Moore and show you his typical workout that he does. This is a world-class athlete, multiple-time national pickleball champion who trains an hour to an hour and a half, 4 or 5 days a week to build strength and endurance and explosion on the court. Take all that workout time, 10, 15 hours per week, and now he's working out 15 to 20 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week, doing what? Activity with the bands on that incorporates slow twitch and fast twitch fibers to where he's building strength, maintaining muscle, building speed and explosion, and improving his endurance. And he noticed this in a huge way on the pickleball court. And finally, the fourth profound effect, growth hormone. When you do high-intensity exercise and you get into that burn or that lactic acid creation, you get a nice release of growth hormone. Most athletes experience a small release of growth hormone. Recreational athletes or rehab athletes aren't working out high enough intensity and they experience no growth hormone. Remember our chart on the left side, 30%, and on the right side, that deeper metabolic failure that occurs with the bands. This is just one of the studies. Look at this change in middle-aged men in growth hormone. When they exercise with the bands, a profound 25 times increase in growth hormone. We've never seen anything like this in any type of application of supplements or therapies or exercise to boost growth hormone like we do with BFR, which means athletes are going to experience a higher growth hormone surge. Recreational athletes and rehab athletes who are not experiencing any are going to see a growth hormone release they're not typically used to seeing, and that is profound. Here's an athlete who got profound results. Emily, she's a volleyball player. We will fast forward here to just one of the drills. You can see she's jumping in the band. So she's doing all of her training, spike jumps, spiking the volleyball, jump setting in the bands. So we can take any athlete and apply the bands to their sport-specific movement, throwing, jumping, running, lateral drills, speed drills, proprioceptive drills, and the athlete is going to fatigue deeper, and then they're going to change. Emily, an elite level volleyball player, put an incredible 6 inches on her vertical leap. How about people like Vinny, who's a martial artist? You'll see here he has got the bands on. He does all of his training and sparring and kicking. What's the difference when we put the bands on him when he trains? He fatigues deeper. It's very simple. He gets more slow twitch muscle fiber recruitment, deeper fast twitch fiber recruitment, more nitric oxide, more growth hormone, and his amplitudes go up. And he noticed a big change in his strike strength. Here's a baseball player hitting baseballs off the tee. Exact same thing is happening here. He's simulating his sports-specific movement of hitting baseballs with the bands on. The difference, he's fatiguing safer and deeper into fatigue, more nitric oxide, more growth hormone, more power when he hits baseballs. Athletic rehab outcomes are changing by 25 to 50% in everything from strains and sprains up to joint replacements, post-surgical joint issues like ACL repair. You'll see here Dalton is doing light exercises on the power plate, but he's got the bands on. So he's safely getting more recruitment and deeper fatigue. And for a rehab athlete, you're talking about getting a growth hormone release, which completely changes the outcome. They come back faster, they have less deconditioning, and they have better functional improvement when they return to sport. And finally, a review of 30 studies, 28 of the 30 studies in the peer review that was published in PubMed showed athletes improving strength, hypertrophy in muscle in men and women, and promising reports on aerobic capacity. And there was even positive impacts on bone health, non-exercise parts of the body showing gains in strength, and their investigation showed no increased risk of clotting or risk of thrombosis. B3 bands are the only bands that have, the patented multiple air chamber. Compared to these cheap bands out there that are straps that are dangerous, that can cut off blood flow, create peripheral neuropathies, B3 bands are safe compared to these other bands that'll single air chamber and are uncomfortable or require being tethered to a device or supervised. B3 bands are the easiest to apply and most comfortable. In the world of BFR bands that are being used by athletes, we are at the most affordable bands out there, and only our bands are waterproof and can be easily sanitized. So an athlete can put these on without any physician, without a physical therapist or a trainer, and go work out. We provide all the guidance that they need, which makes these universal for athletes of all ages. We have 8 and 9-year-old kids that are putting these on. We have 80 to 90-year-old athletes that are easily putting these on. We have a whole support system for the athletic community, including a video library. We even provide coaches. Every athlete that purchases a set of bands, whether it's for you or maybe your high school athlete in your home, we're going to provide a personal coach that's going to provide you a program for your athletic performance, and we even write strategic and specific programs, and we're going to be there to answer questions. So you're going to get everything you need to get started and then focus on improving the components of strength, endurance, aerobic capacity, and sport-specific movements for your specific sport to include, to improve. And again, you'll see all these different things on here we provide to the athletic community. Well, I want to encourage you to read more about B3 bands, but best of all, here's what I tell athletes. Take advantage of our 30-day test drive. You've got nothing to lose, and we back the bands with a 30-day money-back guarantee, even if they're used. I guarantee you, you're going to experience improvement in your athletic performance that's going to blow away any other type of training that you've ever done. And we're going to assist you and coach you in every step of the way. And if for any reason you're not completely satisfied, you can send the bands back for a complete refund.